Hey guys, hopefully you watched the previous video on the update. This is just a follow-up video going over only the balance changes and kind of talking about more details specifically just on those particular balance changes. Anyway, I'll jump right into it now. Thanks for watching the last one if you did, and hopefully this one isn't too long as well. Enjoy! Onto the full balance changes. So this is kind of a bit focused on a cross-pathing change update. First change, the Crossbow Master. So aim of this change here, first off, is to make it so Crossbow Master, it's always been kind of useless to go top cross-path. The aim of this change is to make the 205 Crossbow Master essentially the same as the old Crossbow Master, and to make the 025 now function differently. So the change that has happened here has been that the 005 Crossbow Master's rate was changed from roughly 0.23 down to 0.16, which is how fast it attacked when it did have very quick shots before. But with that, the base pierce has been reduced from 23 all the way down to 10. But the 105 crosspath will now give an extra 6 pierce, and the 205 crosspath will now give an extra 7 pierce. So the 205 will now have, again, 23 pierce, the same as it used to, but it will also have the very quick shots built into the base upgrade, so it's roughly the same tower as it was before. But the 025 now only has 10 pierce, but it attacks 33% faster than it did before. So this is a much more kind of single target focused variation. And it's probably the better choice still, because 10 pierce is still quite high, but 23 pierce is huge, so I guess we'll see how that goes. Hopefully this should not at all be a worse tower than before, but maybe it would be nice if it just adds a bit more options there, you know? One option will always be better, but both should theoretically be somewhat more viable now. Boomerang Monkey, the 204 crosspath now also increases the knockback strength by 50%. So what this means is there was a buff a while ago to make Boomerang actually crosspath for mode press. With this change, top crosspath 204 gave more pierce, middle faster rangs gave faster attacks. They were roughly balanced, but everyone still prefers the faster rangs because more consistency is just better than more pierce when most of the time you're not hitting that max pierce anyway. So to try and balance this a bit more, to make the choice a bit more of a choice, the knockback strength, they now move back 50% further if you have glaives. So theoretically now, if you're always hitting the pierce limit, it's better to get the 204. But as we know, that's rare to do, so it should hopefully just be a bit more debatable, which is better. Although, for consistency's sake, the faster attacks is probably a bit more useful. Bomb Shooter. So these two middle crosspaths here, they both give more speed. They were increased and kind of reworked a little bit, so the actual change here might be a bit different because the functionality and the speed and the actual speed amount was changed. But essentially speaking, both of these now increase speed even more than they used to. This carries on to Mob Mauler, so it is a buff to the Mob Mauler. What this means, though, is the other crosspaths will now benefit more from middle crosspath than they used to. They get more speed out of it than they used to. In addition to this, the really big bombs upgrade now has a crosspath interaction with frag bombs. 302 will increase the radius of frags from 2 to 3, it will increase the pierce of frags from 1 to 2, and it also increases the lifespan of the frags from 0.191 to 0.257, which is a number most people don't understand, but what it basically means is the frags will travel out further. So you kind of have more long distance frags. And at the tier 4, Again, this will buff the frags. They now do increased damage from 1 to 2, and the lifespan goes up again, this time all the way to 0.322. So, not quite double, but quite a long distance range on the frags. I'll be honest here, you're probably still going to prefer the faster speed. But if this is an interesting change that people are interested in, it could potentially be expanded on more in the future. So just thoughts on that are always welcome. Tack Shooter. Quite a minor change here. Super range tax 020. It now gives +1 pierce. Blade Shooter does not benefit from this. It's not a carry-on buff. This is only this upgrade, which is a cross-pathing buff. And what this means is the lower tiers, the like 220 or 022, they now actually benefit more from the middle cross path because like extra pierce, that's a straight, if you can actually hit your pierce, like double DPS. The later upgrades like Ring of Fire, Overdrive, they don't benefit from this so much, so you're not going to be doing any end game tower choices that have your super range cross path aside from like Inferno Ring, because a lot of people do like range on Inferno Ring. But hopefully this will have more early game strategies. We'll see. Next one, Monkey Sub. So this has kind of been requested for a long time. It's been memed about for a long time, and it's changed. Finally. So first off, let's look at the reactor sub. While submerged, if you have barbed darts, it gains 20% pierce, increased from 70 to 84. The 420, now in addition to that, it gains +1 damage to leads, which isn't too significant, but you got plus 20% pierce, so that's something. With the bottom cross path, 401, rate is increased from 0.5 faster to faster. 402, again, rate is increased. This is pulse rate. I think I am looking at some old values there, so I'll have to double check that. But basically, these two upgrades, even though they're animation twin guns airburst darts, they now also increase the rate at which the pulse deals damage. There's stuff on submersion support as well, so don't worry there. The same rate increase from twin guns and airburst also applies to submerge. Nothing on middle path though yet, so you're not really going to benefit from cross-pathing there still unless you go to the Plutonium Reactor. Unfortunately, increasing pierce wouldn't matter there because submersion support already has kind of ridiculous pierce. That's something that can be considered in the future potentially, but any thoughts on this, we would like to know. Be vocal about anything which interests you here, or any other thoughts you have. The basic longer range upgrade, this was increased from a bonus of 8 range to 10 range, and this now also applies to Ballistic Missile. Ballistic Missile? Yes, so Ballistic Missile has been changed a lot, so this matters here. And so basically, price on Ballistic Missile has been reduced. It is now 1.4k, used to be 1.5k. The damage has been increased. It used to do 5 damage to ceramics or higher. It now does 6 damage to ceramics or higher. The range of the actual 030 sub has increased. It went from 42 up to 60. This is for all attacks, including the Ballistic Missile. It's no longer a full map attack. So the Ballistic Missile's range was reduced. 60 here, matches the base sub, matches the regular attack. But the 230 Ballistic Missile now regains full map coverage on the missile. It just gives it full map range at 230. So with the price reduction and the damage increase, this should be roughly equal to the old 030, but now you just have to get a cross path to get that instead. But yeah, it's stronger and a bit cheaper, so it weighs out roughly. But along with this, it also gets the attack speed buff from the bottom cross path that the reactor and the submerge got. So the 032 ballistic missile now attacks twice as fast, but it doesn't have full map coverage. So that could potentially be an interesting thing to have in some maybe rare cases, maybe less rare cases. What would you prefer? Do you prefer double attack speed or infinite range in your ballistic missiles? Experiment and see what works. Going on to the sub commander now. So this now doubles the damage of Energizer and ballistic missile. Before it was only good for the bottom path, which was fine, but a bit of love for ballistic missile and plutonium reactor. This update is kind of all about the water towers in a way. So there you go. Your ballistic missiles damage is increased. Not only does it do a base 6 damage to ceramic and higher now, with the sub command it will now do 12 damage to ceramic or higher, which actually makes it quite decent in a small group at dealing with super ceramics. This double also applies to preemptive strike. So your preemptive strike doing those 700 damage pops to everything that enters the screen. They're now 1.4 thousand damage. It's quite high. It doesn't apply to the ability though, just the special effect that preemptive gains, and it doesn't apply to first strike at the tier 4. For Energizer, if you have 420, it does in fact make you do 4 damage to leads, since we have +1 to leads at this upgrade now. But currently, it doesn't have any other changes on armor-piercing darts. That's something that will have to be discussed and evaluated probably. But any thoughts on that, please leave them in comments on either here or Reddit. Monkey Buccaneer. Aircraft carrier was changed. So the fighter planes on the aircraft carrier, these now all gain a homing Moab missile, which has a rate of 3 second cooldown, and explodes for radius 30, pierce 3, damage 15. This is essentially like little mini missiles from the fighter plane, except each of the small aircraft on the aircraft carrier has 1 missile. The tier 5 carrier Flagship, this now doubles the attacks, the projectile speed of all attacks on this tower. So the darts from the planes move double speed. The fighter plane missiles it has, they move double speed. The fighter plane missiles themselves also get a buff. They fire twice as fast now. They have 4 pierce and 30 damage, roughly doubles effective. The actual main darts on the carrier Flagship gain +3 damage to ceramics, so hopefully they don't, like, this tower doesn't just fall down as easily against super ceramics as it used to. And last but not least, the 15% attack speed buff to all water-based towers. And it's actually been updated in the description. Now applies to all monkey aces you have on screen. So the carrier Flagship, you can now use it in conjunction with like Sky Shredder to get even faster missiles coming off that thing, even blowing out the sky even more. Does not apply to Heli, only Monkey Ace. Heli Pilot itself, Monkey Ace was not changed aside from that. Heli Pilot, Comanche Defense has finally been completely reworked. It is a different tower. Really hope that you like this a lot more than the old tower. The numbers have not changed, just the functionality, so it might be something that has to be discussed again, but hopefully this new functionality will just make it a more interesting and fun tower to use. And this is probably, honestly, easier to show off in a map, so I'll just jump in and do that. Put down a Comanche. And I'm just going to lock it here. So how this works is, once any balloon reaches 25% of distance covered in the track, we'll have a Comanche spawn. There we go, 1 Comanche. Just 1. But once you reach 50% with any balloon, you get a 2nd Comanche. And as you can see, I got 2. The one I did have was starting to leave, but what happens now, if your previous Comanches are leaving, then they'll come back in, or if they're still on the screen, they just won't leave, and they'll just get refreshed, and the new one will come in. And as you can see, again, at 75%, a third one came in. Even if if they have left the screen, they're not on screen anymore, then you'll get the full spawn. So yeah, as you saw there, I had one come in. When it reached the next, another one came in, it was refreshed. When they reached the next point, a third one came in, those two were refreshed. If I give this pursuit, however, actually, I'll just manually control it. Probably easier with a Moab. Let's go with Fortified Moab. Alright. So I got this Moab. I'll let the one Comanche spawn. Oh, yep, there we go. It spawned. It is also a once per round thing, worth noting. Alright, so I keep this back. I didn't do that very well. As you saw, one was leaving, it came back in. If it fully left the screen, you would have two spawn. And also, as you may have noticed, they don't always spawn from the bottom anymore. They spawn from whichever side of the screen is closest to the balloon that's triggering the Comanche. So, overall, this is quite a few changes which basically just completely rework the functionality without removing too much or reworking the numbers at all. Another more specific thing. So Comanche, the movement speed has been increased as well, so they can kind of get from whatever corner they spawn in to the thing they're meant to attack faster. The speed will always be the base movement speed, or just the movement speed of the main heli that spawned them plus 30. What this means is, if you get IFR, bigger jets, which makes your heli move faster, then this will make your Comanche move faster as well. But in addition to this, they're always an extra 30. So it's your base heli speed plus the bigger jet speed plus 30 additional speed just for the Comanche. Another kind of this is less of a balance change, but also if you have a save game with a tier 5 Comanche commander, instead of spawning at the bottom of the screen when you load that save file, they'll now spawn under the Comanche. Not entirely perfect, but it should be better than before, hopefully. Also, due to overwhelming community feedback, the faster darts upgrade and the faster firing upgrade have been swapped. Faster firing is now tier 2. Awesome. Mortar Monkey, Blue Incineration, the wall of fire pools that this creates when it hits and just creates them wherever it attacks, these now see camo, due to overwhelming feedback from the community as well. So hopefully you have fun with your camo detecting walls of fire. Speaking of wall of fire, jump onto the Wizard Monkey. This had also a bit of a cross-pathing rework. So what this rework is now the guided magic upgrade now allows your walls of fire to target. And this might be easy to explain as well. As you know, your wall of fire places in random spots. But if there's any balloon in radius, it will use the targeting priority of the wizard to place the wall. So as you can see in this situation here, it's always going to target the front since that's the furthest forward it can see. If I target last, then it throws it a bit further back. I should have sent more balloons, but you know. So yeah, you get guided walls of fire. The actual pierce on the wall of fire was reduced from 20 to 15, but the 0 to 1 upgrade now gives an extra 5 back to the wall of fire again. So you can get extra pierce on your wall of fire or guided walls of fire. Hopefully that's somewhat interesting. I don't know if race people will be more annoyed that they lost pierce or more glad that they've got a bit more guiding on it, but I don't know. Hopefully people Appreciate a bit of a cross-pathing change there. Necromancer has been also kind of completely reworked. But it still functions the same. Nothing's much has changed there. So if you upgrade to your Necromancer now, you get a little icon in the top left-hand corner. This is how many balloons are in its grave. So previously, all of your Necromancers had their own separate... they all shared one pool of zombies, which was like, they had a maximum 2,000 grave, which was reset every round. Now each Necromancer has its own grave of a maximum of 500. You can get 2,000 at the tier 5. And in addition to this, they now attack faster. They attack 10% faster for every 100 balloons in their grave. This caps at 500, but it's a flat 10% each time. So if you have the Prince of Darkness and you have more than 500 balloons in the graveyard for that tower, it has double attack speed. Double zombie spawn rate. And all the tier 4s, they can get roughly double as well, but you can't really get over 500 when your capacity is 500, so you're not going to get that last little bit there. In addition to this, zombies now last in the graveyard for 1 extra round before expiring, instead of just the whole graveyard being wiped at the end of every round. This means that you can have zombies start spawning immediately as the next round begins. A bit of a small change, but hopefully that should eliminate one of the weaknesses this tower has. It still has some weaknesses, but it's a bit of a help there. The general lifespan of the zombies was also increased from 8 to 10, and the yeah, as I mentioned, they attack faster if there's more stuff in the graveyard. Marketplace, bit of a buff here. So your marketplace now produces 4 additional bananas, so it produces a little bit more cash. In addition to this, the value of bananas produced by the marketplace was increased from 20 to 70, but the $900 chunk at the end of the round has been removed. This generates more cash than it used to, but it no longer does that chunk at the end of the round. It's a constant addition of cash throughout the round. Hopefully more useful, and it does produce a little more cash, so that should overall just be a buff. Sentry Expert, the Boom Sentry was buffed. The radius was increased from 12 to 18. The rate was increased from 1.4 to 1.3. This is the Bomb Sentry it spawns. It was underperforming at its job compared to all the other special sentries, so now just the Bomb Sentry got a bit of a buff, and we'll see how that goes. Last change, Oban Greenfoot. Don't have him selected for this game, so Oban's level 2 now only applies to druids, not all magic monkeys. However, his level 11 still applies to all magic towers. In addition, the level 2 and 11 bonus stack for the full effect on druids. This is to obviously combat him just being absolutely too effective with magic towers, which are already the most effective, but to give him a bit of a niche where he is even more effective with druids than the others. And hopefully with druids being quite good but not quite meta in a lot of cases, it'll just kind of have a bit more even diversity in people using druid strategy, which is extremely good, as well as other magic strategies, which are also all extremely good. Anyway, this is everything we have in this update. Any questions, feel free to leave below. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have fun with this, and I'll see you around.